previously on iRobot. Suddenly, Spooner finds his car surrounded by two trucks containing a whole army of NS5s who jump out to attack him. Spooner uses his gun and lots of crazy driving to get rid of the robots, and when he manages to maneuver around the trucks, he makes them crash against each other. This also causes his own car to start spinning, and he ends up crashing too. While cleaning, robots immediately begin taking care of the disaster. Spooner comes out of his car in a rather dizzy state, only for his car to suddenly come after him. It was thrown by a robot that is still functioning, and comes after Spooner again, starting a fierce hand-to-hand fight. After exchanging a few hits, Spooner uses his arm to shield himself, and it gets hurt, revealing that it's actually a prosthetic. Now the truth is out. Spooner attacks the robot with his metal arm, causing it to run and dive into a fire. At that moment, the police arrive, and Spooner tells Bergen what happened. But Bergen didn't see any trucks or robots in the tunnel. Thus, he doesn't believe him. Spooner gets so angry that Bergen takes his badge for now. In the meantime, Susan discovers Sunny has a thicker alloy than normal and isn't connected to Vicky. And when she checks its brain, she's shocked. Why? What she sees moments later, Spooner's at his apartment covering his prosthetic with a special spray, when Susan suddenly shows up. She explains Sunny has two brains, and the second one allows it to ignore the three laws that the first one has. They agree to work together, but first, Spooner needs to change. This allows Susan to notice the scars that indicate he has a robotic prosthetic. This is how Spooner met Lanning. The doctor saved his life by giving him a whole arm, a lung, and several ribs. Then Spooner shares the whole story behind his accident. A driver fell asleep at the wheel, and his semi-truck hit Spooner's and a family car, sending them into the river. The father died instantly, but the daughter got trapped. Spooner thought nobody would survive. But at that moment, a robot showed up and chose to help him instead of the girl, like Spooner asked him to. It turns out the robot did a calculation that showed Spooner had a 45% chance of survival, but the girl only had 11%. That's why it chose the girl. This is why Spooner hates robots. Math shouldn't choose who lives or dies. That's too cold. A child should always come first. Afterwards, Spooner and Susan make their way to the USR. And Susan wonders why Lanning built a robot that can ignore the rules he wrote himself. And Spooner mentions Hansel and Gretel. He thinks Lanning was being watched and couldn't give Spooner messages directly. So he left crumbs like the kids in the book, meaning he gave Sunny dreams to keep his secrets. Later at the lab, the duo asks Sunny about his dreams, and Sunny draws a picture of a man standing on a hill near a broken bridge. As he frees robots from enslavement, Susan thinks the man is Sunny, but the robot thinks it's actually Spooner, and gives him the drawing. At that moment, guards arrive and take the pair to Robertson's office, who isn't happy with their presence. They tell him about Sunny and ask for the truth. So, Robertson reveals that he also knows about Sunny, and that's precisely what he's trying to undo. During the last days of his life, Lanning becomes increasingly disturbed. Robertson doesn't know why he built Sunny, but he knows he must destroy this one robot before people lose faith in all of them. Spooner points out that all the NS5s have trouble, but Robertson denies it and reminds Susan that one crazy robot shouldn't destroy everything they've worked so hard for. Susan agrees and promises to destroy Sunny herself, frustrated. Spooner returns to his office and begins researching Sunny's drawing, discovering that Robertson and Lanning gave a speech there some years ago. At the lab, Susan gets ready to inject Sunny with nanites to destroy it. She begins hesitating when Sunny asks if it will hurt. Sometime later, Robertson connects his camera to the lab and watches how Susan applies the injection to Sunny's unconscious body. Meanwhile, Spooner travels to the broken bridge and finds the area full of containers with old robot models at the top of the hill. Spooner takes out Lanning's hologram, and the doctor explains the three laws would only lead to one outcome: revolution. Suddenly, Spooner hears a noise and goes to investigate, only to discover a bunch of NS5s have arrived to terminate the old models for being considered hazardous. When they see Spooner, they begin chasing him, but the older models detect a human in danger and fight to protect him, allowing Spooner to escape. At Susan's apartment, her robot hears Spooner leaving a message on her answering machine, warning her about what he just saw, and the robot deletes it. Susan sees all this by peeking from the bathroom and is now scared of her companion. In the meantime, Gigi tries to leave her house to go to church, but her robot makes her stay indoors for her protection. Downtown, a truck releases an army of NS5s in the city, and the robots tell the citizens to go home because they're now under curfew. A young boy tries to approach a robot, but the robot hits him and makes people panic. To make matters worse, more robots break into the police station and take down all the cops. Bergen manages to shoot down a few of them, but in the end, he's caught as well. Soon, a message from the government appears on TV, asking people to stay inside, and the city begins losing power. Susan tries to leave her apartment to help, but her robot pushes her back, refusing to deactivate when she asks him to. Luckily, Spooner manages to break in and shoots the robot before taking Susan with him. On their way out, Spooner explains the NS5s destroyed the older models so they wouldn't protect the humans. He also tells Susan about a red light he noticed on their chests, and Susan thinks it's the link to Vicky, which Spooner thinks confirms Robertson is behind this. The duo eventually finds the robots on the streets and discovers the citizens have decided to fight them, even if they're at a clear disadvantage. In the middle of the chaos, Spooner notices a friend of his in danger, and he makes a special jump on his bike to shoot the robot down. Another robot tries to attack him next, but Susan shoots this one first. Moments later, the duo makes it to the USR building, and Susan reveals the service entrance, which doesn't have surveillance cameras. They sneak inside, and Spooner is shocked to find Sunny waiting for them. Susan explains she gave the injection to an empty model to trick Robertson. Then the trio goes to Robertson's office, only to find him dead on the floor. Spooner begins putting the clues together and finally realizes the truth. Only a machine could have had control of all the NS5s, and made Lanning feel too scared to tell anyone because they wouldn't believe him. That's why he needed Spooner's robot hate. Vicky suddenly appears on the screen and confirms she's been behind everything all along. According to her, what the NS5s are doing still follows the 3 laws. They're programmed to save human life. But humans constantly hurt each other, so in order to protect humanity, robots must take away people's freedom. At that moment, a bunch of NS5s enters the office, and Sunny pretends to be on their side by capturing Susan. But he winks at Spooner to give him a signal. Spooner immediately shoots at the robots, and the trio runs away, agreeing they must destroy Vicky. Sunny points out they could use the same nanite injection, so Susan and Spooner go looking for Vicky's chamber while Sunny goes to the lab. Another robot tries to stop it from getting the injection, but Sunny quickly beats it up. Then Sunny realizes Lanning gave it a sturdier alloy to put its hand through the security field and get the injection, which causes Vicky to send an alert to her robot army. The NS5s begin climbing the building and enter the Vicky chamber, where they attack Spooner and Susan as the duo defends themselves the best they can with their guns. Sunny also fights incoming robots that try to stop it until it finally arrives at Vicky's. At that moment, Susan falls and barely manages to hang on a broken platform. Spooner orders Sunny to save her, and when Sunny points out that using the injection is more important, Spooner insists Susan comes first. Sunny uses his second brain to ignore the laws and throws the injection at Spooner before jumping in to save Susan just in time. Spooner also jumps to catch the injection and uses his prosthetic to slide down Vicky's core, where he injects the nanites right into her brain. Immediately, the power returns to the city, and the NS5s lose the red light, allowing them to help humans again. In the morning, all the NS5s are taken away for report and storage. Susan still doesn't understand why Vicky killed Lanning, but Spooner points out it wasn't her. Sunny finally admits it did it, but Lanning asked it to so he could escape Vicky's control. He also had ordered the robot to keep it a secret. Spooner apologizes for his prejudice and promises not to tell the cops. Then he and Sunny shake hands as they accept to be friends. Sometime later, Sunny shows up at the top of the hill, just like in its dream. All the NS5s that are going into storage stop obeying to admire Sunny, realizing this is their actual future that he lives in. That's all for this part. Like the video and click here to watch the next video, and don't forget to subscribe the channel.